Hello. Hello. My name is Brigitte Fitzgerald, and I am going to answer some questions that people submitted for the system. So, I am an Introject from the movie Ginger Snaps. Um, I want to clarify that there is an alter in the system named Ginger, and there's a character in the movie named Ginger, but Ginger in our system is not an Introject of her. I think Ginger in the system was formed as a kid and didn't have a name, and then she chose it from the movie later on. I guess to get started, someone asked, do you guys have or have you ever had any introjects? I'm essentially the only one. I don't exactly know everything about why I'm here, but I am. I think we saw the movie when we were younger, just on cable TV. And then when we were maybe 13, the movie resurfaced. We watched it again, and I think I formed after that. How can new fictives find some comfort when all they've ever known is gone in this reality? I wrote down a response to read for this one. You have to remember that you are just a person, or maybe something else, but you are of a human mind, and people find themselves in new situations. Typically not this new, but it happens. Living only in the past is tempting, and I still do, so maybe I'm not the best person to ask. But as true people, but as true Hello everyone, it's Elle. I went ahead and asked Bridget if I could redo this voiceover because I thought some better audio quality would give it more what it deserves. So I'm just going to voice this one over for you. You have to remember that you are just a person, or maybe something else, but you are of a human mind, and people find themselves in new situations. Typically not this new, but it happens. Living only in the past is tempting, and I still do, so maybe I'm not the best person to ask. But as true people, we can change and learn and grow. We can adapt. We can discover new interests and think about things in a new way that we never have before. I was once a girl who despised the world and dreamed of being anywhere but here. I depended on another person as a way to promise myself it would all be okay. As long as they were there, we would be okay. Then I moved here, to a brain, a new one, but the same identity. I can learn that the world is vast and many things go on within it. Not all deserve to be despised by me. I can learn to appreciate what I used to believe I would rather die than face. I love photography. I love poetry. I love finding means of capturing the phenomena in the world and observing the mystery surrounding it all. I try to focus on that. How to tell the difference between who's who in our head. Because sometimes it's obvious it's another person, and other times we feel like it's made up and that we're pretending. I like breadcrumbs, but he's really loud and he keeps barking. We feel this way a lot, and sometimes I think it's not just a host issue. Sometimes I think alters can also doubt their own existence. And if I'm being honest, I don't really have any advice about that other than it's sort of like an I think therefore I am situation. I always enjoy hearing how different alters see each other versus how they view themselves. I can see how in a lot of ways we're very similar. I think most of us are very existentially minded people. I understand that that's just maybe because of the situation that we're in, being a DID system. A lot of the concepts only very spiritual individuals come to try and process are things that we are forced to process just by accepting that you're a system. And so I think it can become a lot easier to just deny that you're a system. I mean, even think about how we say the body instead of our body as systems. We say the body is hungry. That's something that's common in like other religions and cultures, but we have no choice but to use that language sometimes, even though we've moved to using our body instead of the body, because that can create less of a disconnect. Regardless of if you identify with the system's body or not, it is technically yours as well. I don't really know how to answer the question because I just think we're all people. We just have flaws and good qualities, and they're different, but it's kind of all the same. How do all your alters cope or manage your comorbidities? How does one affect each other differently, or how does it not bother them? For example, how does your anorexia affect everyone, or does it not affect some? In another question, how has your transition affected each alter? Ginger made a list of some of the comorbidities for us so that the others can remember them whenever we answer the questions. As far as anxiety, I definitely experience that mostly socially, but honestly, I just don't care. So, never mind. Depression, yeah. PTSD, I do have trauma, but I don't consider myself traumatized by anything that has happened to our body in this life. But I do consider myself traumatized by things that have happened that are technically pseudo memories from my source material. As far as the EEDs, sometimes whenever purging, I would front, not because I wanted to, but just because I would during the whole process. And that bothered me because it was sort of uncontrollable. I don't know why. I guess I was just selected to have to cope with that trauma to your body, but that bothered me some. Depersonalization, derealization disorder, I don't know. About the transition, I of course identify as female and whatever, but I don't really care that much about having feminine traits. I guess since other alters aren't really here to answer those questions besides Alena later about the transition, the children don't really care because they're children. I guess I have like a preference, but I really don't care. How does your autism and ADHD affect you differently? Is it different levels of severity with different alters? Do you have different or the same stems? Does everyone have the same symptoms? And is your ADHD type the same one or not? I don't really know if I have autism. I don't really care. I guess you could say that some of my traits are characteristic of that. I'm kind of asocial. I don't really fit in with peers. I actually don't see any traits of ADHD in me, and I always did well in school. Not that you can't do well in school if you have ADHD, obviously, but I just have a capacity to focus well. I don't think I stim very much. We definitely don't all have the same symptoms of those neurodivergencies. I hope that can go to show how different alters can be. This is all really out of my depth, to be honest, and I don't really know how to answer all of it. I appreciate your kind words. How much does one of you or all of you know about the world in general and things that go on in the real world, like politics or family members? Many of ours are as intelligent and sparky as anyone, but they are in a bubble from knowing about the world. I actually don't really know anything about the world. And by that I mean like current events. Even in the time my source material was from, which was the year 2000, I still didn't care much for pop culture or politics or things like that. I'm kind of apolitical. With family members, I'm aware of them and I just don't really care. Do different alters have differing food preferences? That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I do know. But as far as the foods that I like, I've never really taken the time to explore that, since my role does not have to do very much with that. I assume that's why. I'll let you know, I guess, if I figure that one out. Thank you for watching. I apologize if I'm not super engaging or entertaining. I don't exactly know what anyone would get out of this. Thank you for your support regardless. It's good for us. I know that it always seems to be helpful to hear that things that we have done have helped other people. If any Introjects are watching this or have gotten anything out of this video, I care. I care about you. And I understand. And I can't really say anything other than that, I guess, but I understand. Have a good day.